My name is Burr Zeratsky, and I am the president of the Green Lake Conservancy. Today we're at Mitchell's Glen, which is really the jewel in our crown of properties. And Mitchell's Glen has been a historic and important part of Green Lake for many years.
Well, you could teach a course just on Mitchell's Glen. Starting with the geology, the glen itself is a post-glacial gorge.
The glen started as a narrow little fissure in the rocks at a low point where the water drained through, and then through thousands of years of erosion gradually carved the glen out wider and deeper.
There's a microclimate that's created. It's a cooling effect. Cold air, of course, sinks. You have the cold springs at the base of the waterfall, lowering the temperature. It lessens the evaporation rate. So we get plants that are typically found in the northern part of the state that occur here in the glen.
Every spring, when the farmers were plowing, they'd come across these projectile spear points, all these artifacts, and they would just bring them in to Mitchell, and he would give them money for them. From Mitchell's collection is quite a bit of copper from the old copper culture, and beautiful pieces. And then you have pieces that the original stone is not from the Green Lake area. So there were, trade networks that had been established sometime around the late archaic time period.
There are certain properties that, for a variety of reasons, whether they are ecological, aesthetic, historical, of local interest, perhaps even in some cases religious, those properties occupy a very special place in the communities that they exist in. Many of us would never even see the properties, but to know that they're there and to know they've been protected is very important.
Suddenly it was up to Emily and I to be responsible for the Glen, and as she mentioned, there was this ongoing pressure from the neighboring farmer who did not share the same vision that we did in terms of just seeing the Glen as a sacred space. We felt like we needed some support, and we wanted to work with others who shared our land ethic and wanted the Glen to be preserved. I truly believe that the Conservancy is interested at its core in absolutely protecting into perpetuity, and there's no agenda.
Having the Conservancy own this piece of property now, I don't look at it as that it's just this piece of property and ownership in a sense. It's just, it exists there, and that's what it's going to remain to do at its highest quality.
I have this beautiful piece of property that's been in my family forever. There are development concerns, there are ecological concerns. By working with the Conservancy to protect that property, either through an outright purchase or through a conservation easement, putting restrictions on it, it's a legacy that a landowner can have, and they can essentially rest comfortably knowing that their land has been protected in perpetuity.
This is the water retention structure built by the sanitary district to reduce the velocity of the water and allow that silt to drop out before the water continues to spill over and then run down through the glen. There are two different people that lead tours back in here. Tom Eddy does a tour focusing on geology and the natural history. Diana Galstrakinas does a tour where she focuses more on the archaeology, how the Indians used the property.
I was kind of fascinated because this is where I was living. And so to think that people had been inhabiting this area, whether they traveled through or eventually settled here before the European fur traders got here, was just fascinating. I mean, how did they survive? It's very important to me that we preserve that aspect of the history of the Green Lake area.
It never fails to impress me every time I'm here at the majesty and the beauty of this site. Even if I hadn't been told that there was Native American history and significance here, I think you can't help but recognize that this is a special place.
To come and see the sandstone cliffs and the virgin forest, the crystal clear stream, always a great thrill to come here at different times of the year.
The mission of the Green Lake Conservancy is to preserve, protect, and enhance the environmental aesthetic, historic, and recreational qualities of the properties in and around the greater Green Lake watershed. We've been able to leverage $200,000 worth of local donations to our nonprofit and turn them into over $4 million worth of property that's been protected in Green Lake and the surrounding watershed. If you're interested in learning more about the Green Lake Conservancy, you can look us up online at greenlakeconservancy.org.